We had pitched this idea of an animated animal world where animals had actually built the world that they're living in, this animal city idea.
Disney hasn't done, one of these types of movies in a long time, and it was really exciting.
And John said, I will fully support any film that features animals running around in little clothing. He said, if you guys are going to do an animated animal film, you really have to go and become experts on all of these subjects. You have to find out about how animals behave. You have to find out how to build cities.
How would animals live in that city? How would they design it? What kind of animals would even live there?
You have to figure out what's going to be unique about this world. So he said, don't think about story right now. Just go off and do research.
We started our research by going to Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park. And we learned so many amazing things from the incredible animal experts that were there.
A lot of it was this interesting trivia that we said, well, we'll put it to the side and we'll see if it finds its way into the film.
You can't trust any animal that can see in two places at once.
Get them.
Animators have to think about what makes that animal feel and look like an animal. We had our head of animation here, Renato Dos Anjos, and we had our head of look development, Michelle Robinson, and we had Corey Loftus, who's doing the character designs.
I think one of the big things when you're actually around the animals is to take those personalities and bring them into the movie.
Elephants have a very specific way of moving their heads. They use their trunks like hands. You'll see that the giraffes in Zootopia run like real giraffes do, but on two legs.
Early on, we thought, okay, well, it should just be various types of animals all sort of mixed together, salt and pepper.
Are cheetahs aware that they started a whole line of fabric pattern, or no?
But that's actually not how animals are. There's lots of groups, but they're sort of, here's a bunch of giraffes over here, and then here's a bunch of buffalo over here. They're all intermingled, but they largely stay with their kind of groups.
Just like your house cat. Except deadly.
So as we're figuring out what is specific to each animal, John said, well, that's all great, but you guys really need to go where their world really is. You guys are going to go to Africa. And I'm like, Africa? And he said, yes, Africa. We flew out into the bush on these tiny little planes that jostle around a lot, and we landed in the middle of nowhere, and we were there. We were on this amazing environment that hasn't changed in 50,000 years, and it was eye-opening.
There, where you're a guest in their world, it really felt like, oh, okay, you guys are in charge of this place. So that doesn't get your attention.
At the very beginning, we thought, since there's so many wildebeests, we thought the wildebeest would be sort of the business people of the city. They'd be the people in suits walking around. But we learned from our animal experts that the wildebeests are not actually the smartest animals on the savannah. And so it completely changed the design of that animal.
Chief, Mrs. Otterton's here to see you again.
Not now.
Cape buffalo, they're an animal that always remember everything. And it's not that they won't ever forget, it's really that they'll never forgive. So for us, that said, okay, maybe that tough animal needs to be the chief of police.
Well, this should be good.
All of those things became aspects that we incorporated into the film and helped let us really figure out what animal was going to be what character in the movie.
I don't have to be a lonely hunter anymore. I'm gonna be an actuary.
We also saw so many baby animals. We were expecting, like, oh, there's probably a season where all the animals are born, and then that's it. But there were babies everywhere, and they were super cute. And a lot of our animators and our look people were like, we got to put more of those in the movie. At nighttime, you hear hyenas and you hear lions. Can they eat you? Yes, they can eat you. That changes things. When we saw a 200-pound leopard eating a wild boar, you're 30 feet away from that. And as it looks up at you and has blood all over its face, it's super intimidating. So thinking about this movie where, some of the animals maybe they're starting to go savage, that would be scary. And so for us to actually feel that was really important.
So a few days in, there was a big moment.
It was a big moment. We walked around the corner from our camp, and right in front of us is this amazing watering hole with hundreds of animals coming to drink during the day. And we were right there. We were right there with these animals. So the first thing we learned is this.
Don't drink from the watering hole.
Do not. Rich is correct. That was
Boy.
So we noticed that no one was attacking anyone. There was no aggression. Everyone needs water, and everyone was coming in and getting what they need and then going their separate ways. And we thought that's a really interesting social setup. That's kind of like what cities are, because cities are where people congregate because they all need something. They either need work, or they need to have a place to house their families, or they need access to goods, and everyone has to figure out how to get along. This idea of figuring out how the city works was all key to that.
What can you tell us about the animals that went savage?
Originally, we didn't know what type of animals would live in the city. Would there be reptiles and birds? Do fish speak in this world? And early on, we started to focus in on mammals. For a predator-prey story, those lines were much clearer for mammals only. There could be reptiles that live in another continent, but for right now, this place is all mammals.
There's a shot in the film where a train pulls up and you see these 3 doors open, big, medium, and small, and these animals come walking out, and people just get the biggest kick out of that.
One of the most complicated decisions we ever made was we wanted the scale to be true to the true life size of the animals.
A lot of these kind of talking animal films take the big characters like elephants, you know, and kind of shrink them down, and small characters like mice and kind of scale them up to create this one kind of homogeneous size. But we said, like, no, we really want to celebrate what makes animals different. Elephants should be big and mice should be small, and we should kind of play the scale true as we can.
In our scale, one giraffe is 95 mice. So how do I actually set a camera to shoot that scene?
How do you get a tiny little rabbit and a big elephant in the same shot together without it looking weird? It was a rough challenge, but the results, that's what makes it unique.
Yeah, you're a real hero, lady.
You need to have ramps, you need to have water fountains that have different levels, you have to have sinks and desks that can adjust, and all this stuff that seems like so much trouble to get into the film is what makes the film so interesting.
When you're creating a world like Zootopia, you have to think deeply about how did this world get created by animals.
We looked at San Francisco,
London, Paris, Las Vegas,
Barcelona,
Beijing.
and it generated some of the most amazingly unique buildings that you've ever seen.
You look around at the buildings, you get the sense of some buildings were built last year, but there's other buildings that were built 20 years ago, and some buildings that were built 50 years ago, and then 100 years ago, and then some really old stuff on top of that. And we really wanted to give the city this sense of a history.
Jared had this terrific idea. He said, a lot of cities around the world have not just one big section, but they have different boroughs.
Early on, there was this idea, well, maybe certain types of animals sort of had their own parts of the city. You know, carnivores are over here and herbivores are over here. But as we started doing our research, you'd see it would really be designed by climate.
What if Zootopia had different districts? What if it had the Rainforest District? What if it had Sahara Square?
We're gonna have the Redentia, we're gonna have Tundra Town, we're gonna have downtown Zootopia, we're gonna have all these different environments.
We went to New York because in New York you have places like Little Italy that are right next door to Chinatown, but there's a downtown where everyone intermingles, and you get this idea that there's all animals, all people, but in our movie, of course, all animals come together, and we found that that was very common in a lot of big cities. Some of the fun of the city, what made it interesting was hot abuts right up next to cold. How do you do that? If you want to cool something down, just like your air conditioner blows cold air this side, there's always, on the other side, this exhaust that's always hot. So actually, it made a lot of sense to put Tundra Town next to Sahara Square because you'd have that. And then maybe the ice, when that melted, that gave you the water that became the steam for the rainforest and the water for the rain. So there's sort of this natural ecosystem that started to develop that we used for the city.
And it started to feel like a real city.
It feels like you could step into the screen and travel from one environment to the other as easily as taking a train ride. People ask why we go on these research trips, and it's those ideas, things you would have never thought of if you hadn't been there in person with those animals.
All right, now smile like a crocodile.
And that's what's great about these research trips, you know, when you're kind of seeing these new things and you don't know how they're going to really apply to the movie at first.
We're trying to give you something that feels real, having a world that combines the best of what a human world can be, and also the amazing, jaw-droppingly beautiful world of animals. It's just a great privilege for us to be able to bring something like that to the screen.
Every time I watch Zootopia, my eye catches new characters that I didn't see the previous time. I then start to think each one of these animals needed to be created to be unique and populate this amazing city. Add to that, they had to walk on two legs and wear clothes. Try fitting a tail through a pair of khakis, it's not easy. To talk about characters, we joined Character Look and Development Supervisor Michelle Robinson, Head of Characters and Technical Animation Dave Komorowski, and Technical Supervisor Ernest Petty.
We have sheep, we have honey badgers, we have giraffes, we have foxes.
There's like hundreds of thousands of different characters.
And we need to make them look like there's something that's real, that's breathing, that is touchable.
That's my job.
To create the characters of Zootopia, we start out with artwork. Corey Loftus, our character designer, provides these beautiful drawings. Then we step into the modeling phase. Our modelers will take those drawings and recreate sculptures within the computer.
And then those sculptures come to my department, and we need to go in there and paint the colors and add texture and put the fur on them.
What did you find was the main differences between animal fur and human hair?
We discovered it wasn't, one additional problem moving from hair to fur. It was, as many problems as we had species of animals. Every animal's hair is different in its color, in its structure, how shiny it is, how rough it is.
For example, the polar bear fur is pretty special. It's sort of transparent with a kind of a hollow core.
I was pretty surprised by that.
I think there was another challenge just in how much fur there was on these characters. The humans we've done in the past, yeah, they have a head of hair, and the hair can be really long, but there's a few 100,000 hairs there.
So fluffy. Elsa had 400,000 hairs?
On her head, yeah.
I think Nick and Judy both had over 2 million hairs on their body. And then when you get to the giraffe, it's got over 9 million hairs.
So this is an animal world. Who makes their clothes?
Well, yeah, we did have to kind of decide whether at every scale, did they have tiny little factories and for the mice where they made tiny little clothes, or did they all shop at some general fabric store?
We're used to clothes that fit well on humans, but a nice shirt won't drape or feel right on a fox who has shoulders that are sloping down differently. A lot of different aspects really challenged what our normal sense of tailoring clothing and how it will work on these types of characters.
Some of the characters couldn't wear pants because their legs were so short, so they ended up only wearing shorts. But then when you cut out a little outfit for a mouse, it's going to be pretty stiff. But if you cut out a pair of pants for an elephant, it's actually going to feel like a tent because there's so much of it.
Yeah, and how do you tailor a shirt for a camel?
Or how do you put a t-shirt over a moose's head?
Challenges. Yes. How did fashion play a role in all of this?
It certainly ties into their personality. So there are characters like the mayor with his, really clean, sharp suit, as opposed to Bellwether in the beginning, where she's a little bit kind of frumpy, and eventually over time she becomes more powerful in the suits that she wears. It's a subtle color change.
And what about Nick?
Yeah, well, his like slightly off colors and loose tie, and his, they kind of convey like sly/con man.
It's called a hustle, sweetheart, and I'm not the liar. He is.
Well, I remember also with the fashion challenge, there was also a big technology challenge. I mean, if you take your big challenge in the movie and it's saying there's fur everywhere, that impacts every department pretty much across the entire show. We had to write a new, what's called a shader, to basically make light travel through the hair in a realistic way, which is something that we never needed to focus on before and had not been able to do.
The last time we had really done a movie with talking animals was Bolt.
And back in Bolt days as well, he wasn't wearing any clothing at the time.
Right.
I do recall there was a few scenes where Bolt had a collar on him.
Yeah.
So that one collar caused a lot of sleepless nights and a long time just solving that one little problem. Now we fast forward to today, and we have wet, furry characters running in the rain with wind.
On top of trains.
On top of trains.
Yep.
All of that we could maybe do for a single character for a special scene sometime in the past, but to do it throughout the entire movie at this sort of scope and scale is something that we could not have done even a couple years ago. What would you say is the most fun part of working on this movie?
You know, I really enjoyed the process of working on the yak. I thought he was a great character. I think he's really fun.
A lot of little details.
I love the character Clawhauser. He's my favorite character. He's a cheetah that's lost his way a little bit. He sits around and eats donuts, and, you know, I kind of relate to that.
I think the variety for me is what really made it unique. Every character was a different challenge and a different problem, and when you solved one, the next one could be almost completely different. Zootopia, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
There's so many little details, but getting through it all and looking at it, it was a great experience.
I can't help but to believe the world of Zootopia is a real place, even though I know it's an animated world. The lighting, architecture, design, even the way the camera moves in every shot gives me the feeling that I'm actually there. The environment created by the team at Walt Disney Animation Studios is a perfect blend of creativity, technology, artistry, and a lot of imagination. Here to give us some insight on the environments of Zootopia are production designer Dave Getz, director of cinematography, layout, Nathan Warner, director of cinematography, lighting, Brian Leach, set extension supervisor, John Murrah, art director of environments, Matthias Lechner, head of environments, Hans-Ord Keim, and visual effects supervisor, Scott Kersavage.
So when each of you heard about Zootopia when it first started, what made you interested in working on the project?
For me, the first thing they told me was this will not be simple. There's 1,800 plus shots. There's probably about 25 in the entire movie that are actually static. My mouth dropped and I said, please, please sign me up.
Yeah, the complexity and the characters are amazing, and I just wanted to see all that come to life.
Yeah, for me, it was the variety of different environments. We had 6 unique habitats and 4 different climate zones. So it was a nice challenge for me just to get this all up on the screen.
Can you talk about the scale and scope of the different environments?
I think one of the big challenges of it, and one of the most interesting things about it is, you know, in this world where all animals live together, a mouse needs to be able to cross the street with an elephant, and what does that look like? It's really the fun of developing systems that allow all these different size animals to live together.
I thought it was interesting to think about if you see a town or cars, you will first of all think about our human scale. So we actually ended up using wildebeests as sort of an equivalent for the humans. And then there will be the, say, cars for wildebeests, there'll be cars for elephants, cars for mice.
Yeah, there almost wasn't a shot on the movie that scale wasn't important for us. Even our 2 main characters are fairly different. But certainly, without a doubt, the most challenging sequence for scale is going to be the chase through Rodentia.
I am in pursuit!
It starts in downtown. That transition and surprise of here we are in a miniature place, that's difficult to do. So early on, just to punish ourselves, decided to borrow a friend's hamster, put him in a little tiny city, and then said, let's try to film this with low light. And of course, a hamster is going to do what a hamster wants to do. And it let our artists see just how difficult this would be to film in real life, and how the character would be coming in and out of focus when they decide to move quickly, as little rodents do.
Sorry, coming through. Excuse me.
As far as the complexity of building out the world itself, can you talk about how the crew was able to get the environments on screen?
Yeah, I remember when I first came on the show, so we started to build Zootopia in 3D, really only as a reference piece at first, but then we ended up getting shots that we needed that model for. That was the one close-up shot we have where we're flying through the city. I think that helped the detail that is going to make it look real.
Yeah, and one of the things that went into that was color coding the various habitats. So if it's oranges, yellows, you know you're in desert. If it's cool green, you know you're in rainforest.
One discussion that came up all the time was, what's the sky gonna do? As we go from Sahara Square to Tundra Town, should Tundra Town be constantly in a state of blizzard? Or do we respect that it is a city in one place with manufactured climates, which is what it really is?
I think there was some sleight of hand, too, when we kind of wiped screen with blowing snow, and then all of a sudden, the sky's crisper blue, it's like...
What does it really mean to keep the scene alive?
I really feel like it's that subtle movement in the environment, whether it's in the trees or, like dappled shadows on the ground, and all of a sudden, you feel like it's a living place.
I thought of the materials that I was stepping on. So when we were in the snow, our camera is very slow. When we're in the city, every shot is moving, trying to create that feeling that somebody's in a crowd of people.
Also, having little stories happening that are not part of the main storyline, but there's a little couple of mice talking to each other over there. There's some elephants in the background.
Look at me, I'm gonna move to Zootopia.
And I think all these little backstories make the whole thing feel alive.
Were there technical challenges that had to be overcome to make that all happen?
Our software really evolved quite a bit just for Zootopia. That we can basically almost handle an infinite amount of trees, which is pretty awesome.
Are there things on the show that you're particularly proud of?
For me, there was just so much diversity that's in the film. The Tundra Town, the rainforest, and we have the desert. All that was fantastic.
Having spent a lot of time thinking about the look of downtown, designing these buildings, getting the set dressed with all the vegetation, and boy, they just turned out great, I think.
I just am amazed when I see the stuff come together. And I work here, but I don't know how they did that.
I mean, it's a little bit like a childhood dream that came true, and you have an idea, and then there is the best artist in the world making that happen. I'm just happy with the whole thing.
Thank you all so much.
As an actor, I was cast as Judy. I provided her voice and even some of her personality. Being that she is animated, the other half of her acting was done by the animators. And together we brought Judy's performance to life. On Zootopia, a team of over 70 animators worked on every animal, from Nick to Judy to the tallest giraffe and the smallest Arctic shrew. Let's join co-head of animation Tony Smead and animation supervisors Jennifer Hager, Bobby Huth, Kira Letomaki, Chad Sellers, and crowd supervisor Mo Alali as they give us some insight into their research and process of bringing the characters of Zootopia to life.
Hi, guys. So, when was the first time you guys heard of Zootopia, and what kind of drew you to it?
I remember seeing an image of a tiger in a sweater turtleneck thing, and it kind of reminded me of Tailspin, which that brought me back to my childhood and immediately engaged me in the project.
I remember hearing about it just at lunch, just an all animal movie, and I just thought, oh, that's right up my alley. I would love to work on that because that's all I drew as a kid was animals.
What it was for me is the complexity of the world. It was not just about the animals, but having a world supporting those creatures in a very complex way.
A city built by animals, who walk on their hind legs with pants. Who doesn't want to animate that?
Finally, we gave some animals some pants. Donald didn't have pants.
When it comes to us, we have to, really breathe life into these animals.
So you have to kind of look at the animal and almost characterize how the animal moves. So really trying to exaggerate what that animal is.
You had to find something that would help the animal thing kind of come across.
We're trying to figure out how do we make these animals that walk around on two legs feel not like a person, but like their animal counterparts that walk around on four legs.
People think I'm a kitty, but I'm really just a fox.
The moment that they're on high alert or frightened or something, you really start to see the nose twitch on Hops or the ears go up, and that natural animal instinct just really starts to take over.
On Nick, it was the elbows out. I always felt human.
Yeah.
But if you bring the elbows in and keep them in, it looks more
like-
canine then.
Yeah, because their shoulders are actually on the sides of their body, right?
Yeah.
So I think that just, because they can actually do this, you know,
Right.
but they can't, you know, lift their arms all around.
Right.
And like in the beginning of this movie, I was thinking like, oh, we're gonna have just like a C curve for their back. Like that's how we're gonna make them feel animally. So I drew that for Byron and I sent it to him. And I was like, what do you think about this instead of what we had before, which is a very human looking body? And then he sent that drawing back with a squirrel back where the back, the immediate back is just a straight line. And then when it gets to the hips, it kind of like comes out like this. So you get this kind of S curve down the back. Whereas, so they don't feel like they're slumped over, but that was like a revelation, the squirrel back.
Assignments? We'll sit in a sequence meeting with the director. We'll divvy out shots to everybody.
It's funny trying to figure out the animator who would be great for this shot.
I always kind of think of it like Tetris, like you're trying to get like
everything fit.
The exact right person
Yeah.
for the exact right shot. And when you get that, you just feel so good. Like, this is perfect.
It's great.
I feel great. The directors remind us of like the big picture too, because I think sometimes we get just really focused on just, oh, this is just my little shot, but they'll remind you like, oh, this is what happened in the sequence before, this is what happened after, and then they will get into the minutia of the shot, like all those details.
After grabbing all their research, all the info from the directors, we'll finally go into the computer.
And it's a really fun animation challenge because that's where we really shine, I think, is where something that should be impossible or doesn't exist and we have to make it believable.
So after issuing, each animator will go back and kind of take their shot. Some of us like to do thumbnail sketches. Other people like to take reference.
Sometimes you just had to look up a video.
Although Chad did a valiant job of being Gazelle, if I remember correctly.
Wow, you are one hot dancer.
His hips don't lie.
I don't think I ever
think
saw
you
it.
ever will.
We can find it.
It's out there. Don't
there.
look for it.
It's better to just kind of get those golden poses in there that just tell you basically what your idea of the acting is.
You're probably gonna get a lot of notes, or the directors might have a totally different idea.
And it's just the same way a director would give an actor directions. After seeing the performance, he might get ideas based off of what you brought to the table.
Usually less is more.
I think both Jennifer and Jason brought such a great breadth to the lines.
Since they filmed them, we could see them do the takes of all the different ways.
Seeing Jennifer in the recording studio, there was like a bouncy quality to her performance. And so a lot of the animators would look at the reference of her and say, okay, we're gonna try to incorporate a lot of her gesturing just because it felt so natural for her character.
This little bundle of energy.
This is Zootopia. Anyone can be anything.
I almost feel like I can see exactly what Jason is doing.
Yeah.
And it translates to Nick.
Old flash, 100-yard dash. Flash, 100-yard dash. Buddy, it's nice to see you.
Hearing his voice come out of that fox just seemed like the perfect match. And you just hear it and you automatically can picture what Nick's doing. He's got that like half lid smile on his face, you know, and you don't have to do much with him. You can just let the line be what it is. Nick and Jason.
Yeah.
So once you've kind of got your scene approved, then that's really when you go in and put all the juice into it. And that's probably one of the funnest parts is when it's almost there and you're just like, oh, I could add this.
Definitely.
Oh, I could add this little thing.
You could probably honestly polish forever.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, there's that adage that animators never finish their shots, they only get them taken away.
I guess we just get it approved. A few weeks later.
After a few weeks, a few weeks go by.
And the director will usually see it in the polished phase and say, I give you this, my blessing, it's approved, and we all clap.
I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I had a blast working on this show.
It should have been tougher than it was.
Yeah.
Disney
but
magic.
It's Disney magic.
I understand you hurt your neck. We're going to have to go ahead and temporarily remove your collar for the checkup. Nothing to worry about.
I don't think everyone really understands what goes into telling these stories. Sometimes the movie you start out with is not the movie you wind up with, and it's an incredible adventure that story takes you on during the making of one of these films.
Okay, all done. Just a bruise.
When a director initially comes up with an idea, they pitch 3 ideas to John Lasseter.
He says, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And so we came in with 6 ideas. The thing that a lot of these films that we were pitching had in common was that they all featured animals running around in clothing.
John really responded to the animal idea.
Disney hadn't done a animals and clothes movie in a long, long time.
There's a lot of things that excited me about Zootopia when I came on. One thing was that for the first time, we were going to take those great 2D designs that are so classic Disney, and we were going to do it in CG.
I grew up on Robin Hood, and John grew up on Wind in the Willows.
The Wind in the Willows, it's the Mr. Toad film, and that was kind of a social satire.
These animals in clothing stories feel like modern-day fables, and it allows us to kind of talk about what human beings are like with their animal counterparts.
Byron started with that. He wanted to tell a story of the bias that human beings can use towards one another and tell it through an analogy or a metaphor with animals.
And that really started us on the journey of, well, what if you had a character that was a predator and a character that was a prey animal, so opposite from one another, and they have to get along? And that was the basis of where Zootopia came from. From our research, we really discovered that in nature, the ratio of prey animals to predators is 10 to 1. Predators, even though they're very powerful and can be kind of scary, they're this little tiny minority. And we thought, well, that's really interesting, because if you have a city full of prey animals, do the prey animals all trust the predators, or is there still some of that fear buried in their psyche? And we thought, what an interesting thing to explore.
And it led us to this concept of thinking about, well, what if the prey were in charge?
And so one of the ideas that was in the earlier version of the film was that prey animals only felt safe if predators wore these things called tame collars. And tame collars was sort of like a dog shock collar.
When a predator would start to get agitated, it would kind of go from green to yellow to red and tell the predators to take it easy. And that tame collar wasn't truly necessary, but it made the prey animals feel better.
It really helped in creating great sympathy for the predator characters.
We also had a very poignant moment where this adult polar bear was giving his 5-year-old son his first tame collar.
And it was a very emotional scene.
The day he becomes
A big bear.
The little polar bear was very excited to get this collar because it meant that he was grown up. But his father was so upset that he was never going to be free again. That scene was one of the tent poles that we were hanging that whole version of the film on. I still watch that scene and I tear up when I see it.
At that time, Nick was the main character of the story.
They make all the rules. That's the real ripoff.
There's a cynical character, and you really get to see his plight in the world.
As we're putting the film together, we screen it internally a lot.
To directors and writers and story artists who look at each other's films and really give critical notes and thought.
The film during these screenings that we have about every 4 months wasn't making the progress that we'd like to see.
Listen to me. That is not what happens when you take your collar off.
But we kept getting notes talking about the fact that ultimately the collars really felt negative in a way that you didn't like the world.
Zootopia was this kind of oppressive police state.
If the world is already this broken, what am I rooting for?
After about 5 or 6 screenings, we realized that one of the issues that we had is that as we introduced the film through Nick's eyes, since he was cynical, the audience became cynical about the city itself, and that was a big problem.
There was nothing for the audience to discover. It was pretty blatant that this guy was miserable, so it just came out the gates negative.
When you're in that situation, you need all the firepower you can get.
Phil Johnston jumped on to help out. We spent about a year trying to work together to assess what's going on.
I didn't get involved until pretty late in the game. It sort of needed a fresh set of eyes.
We all kind of agreed, let's try a version without those collars.
And many, many months into production, even though we had had Nick as our central character, we thought, well, maybe Judy should be the one who is telling you the story.
Oh,
something is going on, and you are going to tell me.
Once we started to explore from Judy Hopps' point of view and had her be the protagonist of the film, it really fundamentally shifted the film, and we just knew it was right.
It would be brutally challenging of getting it to where we wanted it, but it seemed like the pieces all started to kind of fall into line.
Judy introducing the story allowed us to invest in this dream that she has about how amazing Zootopia is.
Welcome to Zootopia. You want to be an elephant when you grow up? You be an elephant. The audience needed to root for Zootopia from the beginning and see Zootopia through Judy's eyes.
It provides a whole nother level of entertainment and humor. In fact, 3 of the funniest scenes of the film came after we made Judy the protagonist. The DMV.
Wait. They're all sloths?
The Naturalist Club. In Zootopia, anyone can be anything. These guys, they be naked.
And Mr. Big.
She's the bunny that saved my life yesterday!
This bunny?
Yeah! Hi.
For Judy to be sort of a three-dimensional character, we wanted to create a bunch of stuff that was stacked up against her.
It's great to have dreams. Yeah, just as long as you don't believe in them too much.
In a typical kids movie, you would have the character's want song where they're stating very explicitly what they want and how the world is piling up against them. And in this case, we take that trope and sort of subvert it by making her parents say the most ludicrous things.
See, that's the beauty of complacency, Jude. If you don't try anything new, you'll never fail.
We had removed the idea of the shock collars. We had changed our main character from Nick to Judy, but there was still something that we had to crack.
Maybe she is being biased against, but she doesn't realize that subconsciously she's doing the same thing to everybody else.
To avoid having Judy's journey be simplistic by simply saying, I want to make the world a better place.
We want to show that even the most good-natured person can be susceptible to putting stereotypes on another person.
I'm such a...
Of all the movies I've worked on, I've never seen a movie make this big a shift, this late in the game. But for us, it's about telling the best story.
Don't understand. I was trying to protect the city.
You were just trying to protect your job.
The story felt very contemporary, how people that are different from you or me, or how humans look at one another, and that was kind of in the fabric of the film.
We have to find a way to cooperate with one another and really learn about one another and realize that in the end, all of us want the same thing. All of us want to be happy. All of us want to be respected. All of us want safety for our children, our families, the ones we love, because we're all in this together, and underneath the skin, we're all the same. One of the great things about directing a film at Disney is you get to be a part of every single step of the process, from the very beginning, where there's nothing, where there's just this little flash of an idea, to the very end, where you have this amazing film.
It is 600 people who have dedicated 4 years of their life of bringing this to the screen, and it's their passion, it's their want to make everything look the best it can be that every day just blows me away.
There's something about what Disney does that's unlike anything else.
Welcome to the Eastwood scoring stage here at Warner Brothers Studios, where we are recording the film score for Zootopia.
Zootopia, it's a city that was made by animals for animals. And so as we developed this idea, we came to him and said that we want to have a really world music vibe.
It's like a real city, and then underneath that, we have sort of a very hip vibe happening as well. And it's great, so being able to mix all of those things together really does help make it feel like you're in a modern city, except with animals. Basically, the idea for this film was to bring a bunch of weird sounds together. John kind of challenged me to go out and find exotic things. So I called Bernie Dressel, my drummer, and said, what do you got that will give us something different, but you can still play like a drum kit? So This is what he brought in.
You gotta see this.
You'll see his kick drum is made of an old wash tub. And then same with this tom. We have a wash tub over here. Back there, we got an old oil drum.
Oh, that's cool.
If we do something like this, we can immediately be drums, and in the meantime,
What I love about the guys I work with, it's a really collaborative environment, and I love talking to them about what they have and what we can do. We're here on the scoring stage in Burbank at the Warner Brothers Studios, and I'm here with...
Hi, Byron Howard.
And Rich Morin, you're the real Michael Giacchino? Really? The one and only?
Working with musicians. They're really like actors in a way because you're giving them lines to interpret, and that's what's really wonderful.
Michael wrote a specific bass line that goes, you know.
We have the greatest rhythm section of all time. Who anchors the rhythm section? That's the bass player.
Well, what I play is 2, 3, 4.
Of course, one of the most important areas of the film sonically is percussion. I mean, look around. We have all of these choices of what we can do. We have djembes and congas and bongos and all of these drums, and we also have very strange sounds as well.
That's creepy.
The film is very emotional in addition to being very funny, so I wanted something to underline that emotion. The main theme is built around the idea of these instruments doing these repetitive sort of it's just meant to be very simple, meditative feel.
You gave her a clown vest and a 3-wheeled joke-mobile in 2 days to solve a case you guys haven't cracked in 2 weeks? If you'll excuse us, we have a very big lead to follow and a case to crack. Officer Hops?
It's one of the most amazing things for us as filmmakers to come in and to see you play, and it's magnificent.
The piccolo 175. Can we have the flute 2, but an octave lower? So, can you read off that guy?
That's it! That's what I've been missing! Oh, keys! Hurry, come on! Oh, thank you! I love you, bye!
You catch any of that, Bond?
Not one bit.
Oh, Michael, that is so beautiful.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. Joblo remains an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.